Hi everyone, I'm Wahenya Doc. In this video, we are going to discuss about nose breeding, medically known as epistaxis. We are going to discuss the types of nose breeding and the 10 causes of nose breeding. If you like this video and benefit from it, hit the like button, comment below, share and subscribe. Most of us, or majority of us, have experienced nose breeding at some point in our life. Epistaxis is breeding from the nose. Where does this blood come from? In this diagram I've drawn here, I want to describe where the blood come when you are nose breeding. I'll illustrate the whole process. Our noses and our nasal cavity have a rich supply of blood from internal carotid artery and external carotid artery. Blood is pumped from the left side of the heart, that is the left ventricle. It is pumped into the aorta. From the aorta give off two branches of carotid artery. One branch is called right common carotid artery. The other branch, the second branch, is called left common carotid artery. I will start by explaining right common carotid artery. Right common carotid artery rises from the arc of the aorta, then it ascends up in the neck. Around the neck region, it give off, or it separate into two branches. One branch is the external carotid artery, and the other branch is internal carotid artery. External means it runs more superficially, and internal means it runs within the deeper structures of the neck and the head. The right external carotid artery will give two branches that will supply the right nose and the structures around the nose. The right internal carotid artery will also ascend almost to the brain area, and then it will enter into the nose and the nasal cavity and give off two branches that will supply another area of the right nose. Let's now get to the left common carotid artery. Left common carotid artery will arise from the aorta, will ascend around the neck region. It will branch into two. We have the left external carotid artery and the left internal carotid artery. The left external carotid artery will ascend into the brain, then somehow it will get its way into the nose and supply the left side of the nose. Then the left internal carotid artery will ascend and also give off two branches that will supply the left side of the nose. All these around 8 branches from both the left internal and external carotid artery will supply the nose and the structures around the nose. Then these blood vessels will converge in one area or meet up in one area within the nose and within the nose or nasal cavity, and form a network of small blood vessels. This area is the area of circled in blue. This area is called the Littrows area. Littrows area is a common source and site of nose breeding. From this point, I'm going to discuss the two types of nose breeding. One, we have anterior nose breathing. Two, we have posterior nose breathing. Anterior means front and posterior means back. Anterior nose breathing is more common. It accounts around 90% of nose breathing cases. It is less severe, and also we can say that blood oozes from this point, this retro area, and oozes out using the front nose or the front nostrils. Posterior nose breathing account for around 10% of nose breathing cases. Posterior nose breathing, blood breathing originate from these branches that are deep back in the nasal cavity, mostly arteries. Posterior nose breathing is very serious and is usually sometimes challenging to manage. From that point, when you have a posterior nose breathing, the blood flows back to the posterior part of the nose. It can enter into the mouth, and also it can move down to the airway. It can also move down through your food pipe into your stomach. If blood happens to move down into your airway, we call that aspiration. Aspiration is very serious, as you know that if you can aspirate a foreign body, or maybe when you are taking rice, if a particle of one rice can get aspirated into the airway, it's very distressing. It causes a lot of coughing. So when blood get aspirated, it is worse. What are the 10 causes of nose bleeding or epistaxis? Nose bleeding has two types of causes. We have local causes. We classify the causes into local causes and systemic causes. Local causes means that the causes are around the nose and the nasal cavity. Systemic causes means the cause of nose bleeding is elsewhere in the body and is causing nose bleeding. The 10 causes of nose bleeding. One, we have nose picking. Nose picking is extraction of mucus by insertion of fingers into the nose, and kids usually extract the mucus and put it in the mouth and swallow. That is the most common cause of nose bleeding in children, because when children are nose picking, it usually result in damaging of blood vessels around the retro area and result to nose bleeding. Number two, we have a foreign body. This also usually affect the kids. Kids are fond of putting foreign bodies into their noses. Sometimes those foreign body can injure the blood vessels within the nose and result to nose bleeding. Number three, we have upper respiratory infections. Upper respiratory infections include flu, cold, sinusitis, rhinitis. Those infections can cause damage to the nose and result to nose bleeding. Number four, we have anything that can cause dryness of the nose and irritation. These include one, if dry cold air during July, because Kenya we don't have a winter, so July is kind of a winter. That cold air usually dries up your nose secretions, and your nose usually get irritated. Another issue is the people who are living in high altitude areas. These areas include like Kinangop, Mount Kenya region areas. Those areas, they usually have dry cold air which irritate and dries up the mucus in our noses, resulting to it can predispose you to nose bleeding. 3, we have people who smoke. Smoking or that smoke usually irritate the nose and the airway, resulting to it can result to nose bleeding. And also we have drugs. These drugs include drugs that can treat infections of or infections of cold and flu. We call those drugs antihistamines. Antihistamines work by inhibiting or reducing the nasal secretions. These drugs can result to dryness, and that dryness can result to nose bleeding. And we have other drugs that we call nasal sprays. Nasal sprays are used to treat allergies of the nose. These drugs, if used for a long time, they can result to nose bleeding. Then we have trauma. Trauma or blunt trauma is when someone knock you around the nose or punch you around the nose. This can result to damage of those blood vessels, and if these blood vessels rupture, this will result to nose bleeding. Opposites, we have bleeding disorders. Bleeding disorder or coagulation disorders. Coagulation is the process by which your body uh, prepare a clot or make a clot to prevent you from bleeding. Normally, when your blood vessels are injured, your blood has platelets, and clotting factors usually form a patch around the injured or ruptured area of the blood vessel. Any disease or condition that can affect the production of or functioning of these platelets and clotting factors can result to bleeding disorder. These bleeding disorders include, we have hemophilia, we have liver disease. Liver disease because the liver produces these clotting factors. So if you have a liver disease, you don't have these clotting factors. Then we have people who have a deficiency in vitamin K. Vitamin K is used in inactivating these clotting factors. Without vitamin K, these clotting factors that are produced by the liver cannot be active, cannot function. Also, we have alcoholics. Alcoholics usually develop bleeding disorders for various reasons. Then we have people who are using blood thinner drugs. These are drugs that are used to treat clotting diseases. These clot can form in case there is a problem in your blood vessels or cardiovascular system. In case maybe you have a stroke or you are being treated for DVT, you can be given drugs like aspirin, warfarin. These drugs, if you take for a long time or without monitoring their efficacy, it can result to having a very less viscous blood or watery blood that can result to nose bleedings. Then we have number 8. We have blood vessel diseases. Blood vessel diseases means that a patient who has a blood vessel disease, their blood vessels lack certain proteins. These proteins are part of the blood vessel, and the most famous person known to have a blood vessel disease is was called Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln had a condition we call Marfan syndrome. Marfan syndrome is a type of connective tissue disorder that where blood vessels lack a certain protein, they end up being very weak and they can rupture easily. Then we have another cause is hypertension. Hypertension is high blood pressure that is beyond 140/90. If your blood pressure can rise up to sometimes above 180 systolic and above 110 diastolic, it can result to rupturing of the blood vessels, These include blood vessels around the nose, resulting to. Then we have cancer. Cancer is the overgrowth of the cells when they lack control. We have cancers that can occur within the nose. Those cancers can result to damage of the blood vessels around the nose. We also have cancers that are not within the nose, that are elsewhere, like cancer of like leukemia. Leukemia is a cancer that affect the bone marrow, the red bone marrow. When you have leukemia, your platelets level are affected, so you can end up bleeding, and not only from the nose. You can bleed from even inside your brain. That's what we call stroke, hemorrhagic stroke. You can bleed from your stomach, your intestines. Yeah. Then we have last one. We have Ebola. Ebola is a virus that can result to bleeding from many places, including nose bleeding. So those are the main causes of nose bleeding. Follow and subscribe Wahinya Doc for the treatment of nose bleeding. Thank you.